Greetings everyone, I'm CamelCoder, also known as Rasmus, or Rasmus if you wish. I'm an aspiring front-end developer. I just recently kind of restarted my journey towards that goal, and these videos that I'm doing on this channel are going to be documenting my journey to fulfilling that objective. So, who am I? I'm Jean Valjean, okay. I'm CamelCoder. So I work in non-tech, but I want to start working as a web developer, obviously. Full stack or front end, I don't know. Front end seems to be the logical starting point anyway, so we're gonna go for front end developer. So what are my hobbies? Lifting and Age of Empires 2, that's basically it. Age of Empires 2, the greatest computer game ever made. 25 years going, still going strong. Check it out. Okay, so what's my objective? Start applying to developer jobs the 19th of December 2022. So this year. Now, this is not some magic date or anything that, oh, it has to be by this date or else everything's forfeit. No, it's just, I feel like this is a somewhat realistic time frame. I might need like 1 or 2 more months, depending on how much time I'm able to devote to this. Because this is about 6 months, which I'm going to be doing around 15 hours a week. So it might not be sufficient, but I feel like if I put a deadline that's, say it's sometime in 2023, then there's going to be less urgency in your mind, or in my mind rather, to be like, oh, I got to get this done, I got to get this done. Because even if you put like January the 1st, 2023, which is basically the same thing as this date, then the mind is going to be like, well, that's 2023, we're going to be fine. You don't need to put in 1 hour of coding now in the evening. You can just go and relax or something. So no, we have to make the deadline this year. But it's not like if I don't make this, then I'll die or something. Okay, so these are some of the keywords that are in my kind of the document that I read and to myself every morning, which are kind of the principles which are going to guide me on this journey. So 1, direct practice. So it's basically, don't just read things, do things. And then experiment often. Knowing without taking action is not knowing. Don't be afraid to break things. So this is the most important of all the keywords here. When you read about the concept for the first time, to really make it click, you need to just build things with it. Try out different things, try to break it in different ways, experiment. What if if you just learn about objects, for example, which I'm learning about now in JavaScript, how can I use them? What if I try to call them using bracket notation compared to dot notation? Does that make a difference in any way? All experimentation is key. All right, so repetition. Of course, if I'm able to build something, let's say today, and then in 2 weeks, if I try to build it again, if I just have no idea about how to do it, then clearly there was some issue with retention there. So either I needed to kind of build it again, like a week after or a few days after, or I should have paid more attention in the first place when I was learning it and building it in the first place. So, but repetition, you can go wrong with repetition, like you can over-repeat basics. So of course you don't want to overdo it, but definitely revisit things to make sure that everything is, that you've learned what you're supposed to learn. Of course, the goal is not to keep everything in your head, keep all the syntax in your head and stuff like that. I mean, experienced developers, they still have to Google stuff all the time and look up things on Stack Overflow and so on. So don't get the impression that I'm going to be overdoing this, but it's still a good thing to keep in mind. Okay, so 80% of the work is showing up every day. I really like this quote. It's not mine, but I feel like it's very accurate. As long as you have the habit of doing something, then you're set up for success. Then you just need to tweak some parameters to increase the volume that you're doing. Because it's very easy to fall into all or nothing thinking, where let's say you have a streak of doing something for 60 days. Counting your calories or something, and then you miss one day and you see the streak number go down to 0, it's very easy mentally to go, everything's ruined, everything's destroyed, I miss one day. That's a cognitive distortion. It's a very common thing to think in terms of all or nothing thinking. But if you show up every day, then even if you just did 10 minutes of coding or 20 minutes of coding, then you still did something that day. So that kind of helps you get away from falling into that all or nothing thinking trap. Okay, so what is my plan? 15 hours a week is the target, and try to get those done as quickly as or as early as possible in the week, of course. And 3 hours a day is like what I really want to be at as an average. Of course, more is better. More is great. I'm not saying that, okay, I did 15 hours now, then I don't need to do anything more. But rather, this is like the minimum that I would like to accomplish. Keep a coding journal every day. So this is something that I've been doing for the last few days, and I think it's really helpful. So I kind of have a template for every day. So when I open it, the headlines are, what am I doing today? So always go in so you don't start the browser and then like, well, what am I going to do today? I don't know, maybe that or that, and then you look up things on YouTube or something, then you get stuck browsing on YouTube. No, don't do that. Like, have a set goal for what do I want to achieve today, and list that in the journal. So I filled this in at the start of the session, so in the morning. How do I feel about what I'm doing? It's important to keep track of your emotional state. Sometimes you're frustrated with things. Maybe things are really tricky maybe there are outside factors, like you're stressed from factors that don't have to do with coding, or the coding issues that you have are very challenging, and that's making you frustrated. And I feel like writing about those things and putting them out in text really lessens the impact that the emotions have, because then you can, instead of those emotions being like some integral part of you, you kind of zoom out your perspective and be like, okay, so this emotion is just a chemical thing that's going on in my body. I don't have to let this emotion dictate what I do and how I act. So it kind of helps you get a perspective on things, not like dampen your emotions, but kind of put your emotions into perspective. Mindfulness, basically. So what am I looking forward to? So this is also a thing to kind of put a positive twist on the whole thing at the end of filling this out. So something nice that I'm looking forward to. This is coding related, of course, not outside coding. So maybe, I'm learning about some kind of esoteric concept, and then I really look forward to practical applications to do something with that, or building something with it, or something like that, or something I'm going to learn in the next few days. And then when I'm done with the session for the day, I fill in what did I learn do today, kind of sum it up in my mind. So this is kind of the progression that I have in mind. This is not an exhaustive list, so this is not everything. This is just the very bare bones skeleton thing. So 1, learn HTML, CSS, FCC, that's Free Code Camp. I'm done with the HTML and CSS course and the projects there, a portfolio and some other things. So that's fine. And of course, there's so many things left to master when it comes to HTML and CSS. I have so many things to go back to revisit and learn and kind of make more muscle memory and kind of internalize. So I'm not saying I've mastered HTML or CSS or anything like that. And then learn JavaScript. Currently I'm reading from the book Headfirst JavaScript. I'm about halfway through. It's an old book. There's no newer edition. It's from 2014. Unfortunately, there's no newer version of this. So some of the things might be a little outdated, but I think the Headfirst series is really good at making things educational and making things stick. It's fun to learn from it, basically. So I'm doing that, and then when I'm done with the book, I'm going to be doing Free Code Camp, and then the JavaScript course there, and then applying what I've learned into some practical projects. I mean proper projects, not like the mini projects that I'm doing while learning. And then the things around it, Git, terminal, and so on. This is not, okay, now I'm done with JavaScript, now I learned this. This will bleed into point number 2. For example, for some bigger JavaScript projects that I'm going to build, I'm probably want to properly learn Git and stuff before doing those. But this is a kind of should be pretty easy and quick in comparison to learning JavaScript. And then we have learn Node.js, of course. Even if you're a front-end developer, you want to be able to do some stuff on the back end. So we're going to do that. And then as a framework, I've decided to go for React because it seems to be the most common one, and then build some projects. And that was the last point, but like I said, there are more points than this, but this is just kind of the overview. There's so many more things to learn than this. So why am I doing this channel? What's it about? It's mostly, it's not, I'm not trying to become an influencer or something like that. This is just to hold myself accountable. If I say that I'm going to make a video every week and where I'm going to display, I did this many hours of coding, these are the things that I've been working on. If I haven't done any coding and I haven't done any productive things, then that's going to be really embarrassing. And the human drive to avoid embarrassment, that's a very strong drive indeed. So that's the main thing. And then motivation. They kind of also, these are kind of two sides of the same coin, but it's also like if I learn something or I build a project that I'm really proud of, then I can think to myself, oh, this is something that I get to share with YouTube at the end of the week. And then connecting with other people, getting in touch with other people who are on a similar journey, or maybe are already working in web dev, or are thinking about starting learning. And of course, learning. When you reiterate and think about things that you've already done and talk about them, then it definitely helps things stick more than just, okay, next chapter, next chapter, next chapter. Okay, so you as a viewer, what can you expect from this channel? One video a week. I'm probably going to do the videos at the beginning of next week rather than on the Sunday of the week that I'm doing, because that just makes things easier for finding the time to actually record this. Low production value, yes. So basically just making this video. I had so many technical difficulties. The webcam says that the drivers are out of date. There are so many small things. And at the end I decided, okay, let's just make this whole video thing in the Google Docs PowerPoint equivalent. And I've never used that before, so everything's janky. Like you can see here, this doesn't quite line up with the previous row, and some text sizes are different. But the important thing is, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, is a quote I really like. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. So it's better to just get this out there and get this started, and then we can worry about perfecting things or making things better later on in the road. The most important thing is just starting the habit. And it's just going to be my coding journey, and to see what I'm thinking, and bounce thoughts off you, and probably some bad puns in there as well. And yeah, that's basically it. So probably on Monday or Tuesday, or yeah, either Monday or Tuesday next week, I'm gonna do the first kind of video summarizing what I've done, what my thoughts are, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and what I plan to do the next week. So that's it. Thank you for watching this video, and CamelCoder out.